I've never owned a smartphone. The phone I used to have before the 3G network was shut down in 2022 was an old Motorola clamshell that I'd had since 2008. The dust plugs had long since fallen out. The case was being held together by tape. It was falling apart, but I still used it every day. You may ask, why? It began mostly as a work philosophy thing. When I started working in the mid to late 2000s, smartphones were not yet the major fixture in the world that it's become today. Not everyone had one, though most people did have a bulky cell phone at least. The BlackBerry was king, and the iPhone wouldn't come out until 2007. Yet there was a marked shift taking place in the office even then. Phone reception still wasn't great. You could drop calls spontaneously, but with the newer smartphones, you could browse the internet, receive mail, and do all sorts of things. My employers began expecting near instantaneous responses to mail and texts, even after work hours, sometimes even in the middle of the night. Now, call me old-fashioned, but here's what I think. Once I leave the office, I'm no longer working. Yet, if employers know that you have a smartphone, they will expect you to answer messages within 5 minutes upon receipt, no matter the time of day or night. Some of them will even turn on receipt notifications so they know when you receive mail, which is kind of perverse if you think about it for even a second. If you don't answer, the next day they'll take you into their office, sit you down like a vice principal speaking to a naughty child, and ask why you didn't respond to their urgent message. They'll ask why you're not a team player. Or you'll turn your phone off to unwind and relax, take your mind off of a stressful day, only to turn it back on hours later to find several frantic messages. Where were you? Why did you turn your phone off? Don't you know that the company needs you? As you can imagine, I found this to be very onerous and nerve-wracking. Now, I was just as fascinated as most everyone else by the demos Steve Jobs was giving of the new iPhone. But giving in and buying one would have meant acquiescing to an employer's demands so they could harass me while I was at home. That was an unacceptable trade-off. So I refused to get a smartphone. And since my employers at the time didn't want to buy me one, and I didn't really have a computer to check mail at home, I was able to escape. I don't know if it would have worked with every employer, as I'm sure some would have made the expense and forced their employees to buy a smartphone. And of course, things have changed even more drastically these days. People work at home with even greater frequency, and remote setups are quite a bit more powerful than they were back in the late 2000s. The lines between work and home have definitely blurred. From a computer at home, you can easily view work mail and connect to a work terminal in order to make some urgent fix. Still, for me, that no smartphone mindset stuck. And to this day, I still don't have one. It means one less vector for harassment to worry about. Yet, there are still others. The battle against this sort of encroachment is ever eternal. While I try to set boundaries between work and my own personal life, there are some battles you win and some you lose. Will I cave one day and buy a smartphone? If I do, it will be because the choice has been taken away from me. 3G isn't really supported anymore after all, and there aren't a slew of options for flip phones either. Maybe I'll have to upgrade after all. Or maybe I won't buy a new phone at all. Thanks for listening. This is a bit of a departure from me, speaking directly into the microphone without coding on a keyboard. Just me and my voice, and you, the listener. If you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff, let me know. Also, be sure to check out my website, josephchoe.com. I've written a bunch of stuff over there as well. Anywho, take care and see you next week, maybe.